I'm a 90s kid. I remember Mondos. Do they still make them? I remember drinking them with my cousins in the backyard and pretending we were vampires because they were like red. You're just like sucking red juice out of the Mondo. I remember dial-up internet. AOL, You Got Mail, that type of thing where it's like you had to wait for the internet to load. And if someone was on the phone, we shared a landline with like our phone and our computer was connected. So if someone was talking on the phone, you couldn't get on the internet. I remember getting so angry at my brother for talking to my grandmother on the phone when I wanted to get on the internet and he wouldn't hang up. So I just kept starting up AOL again and again to try to make him get off. I remember a world without smartphones. Just think about that for a minute, of how important smartphones have become to our lives, how we're glued to them. Like when you go out, everyone has a phone, and we use that as a coping mechanism now. We've become dependent on them. I remember when people didn't have smartphones, and that makes me feel a little old. Like, I remember when kids, including myself, would just go out and play all day outside or just like play with our toys. Like, we weren't obsessed with like electronics when I was younger. I remember VHS, cassette tapes. I remember getting my first flip phone. I remember playing outside a lot and making up fantasy role play with my brother and our neighbor. I remember playing Dollhouse, playing with my stuffed animals. I loved Beanie Babies. I wish they still made them like they did then because the ones now are ugly. I still have some Beanie Babies in my room. I remember the day I broke my arm, I had just gotten a new Beanie Baby. It was a cougar. And actually, it's like right over there for some reason because I was like thinking about it the other day and I like got it out. The day I broke my arm, I took it with me to the hospital. I remember being suspicious of Facebook when it first came out. My mother and brother were all into it, and I waited like a couple years after they did before I got onto it. I remember using film cameras where you couldn't see how your pictures turned out until you went to get them developed, and sometimes they didn't turn out. Sometimes they did. And sometimes you forgot and expose the film and mess the pictures up. I remember when my family was happy. I remember when we used books and CDs instead of like digital devices and streaming. The world has changed so much since I've been alive, and I feel both that I've been alive for a while, but also not very long considering the scheme of things. Just in the almost 30 years I've been alive, so much has changed in the world. Just things I remember growing up as a 90s kid compared to where we are now. Things are so different. I feel like things were innocent back then. Maybe they weren't as innocent as I remember. Maybe I was just more innocent. I do feel like times change, and the time we're in now is very different from the time of my childhood. I've changed so much, both good and bad. I remember when I was younger, I got a map to collect coins, quarters, with the different US states on them. There were a cutout in each of the states to put the quarters in, and it showed the dates that each coin came out. And one of them, I believe, was 2018, when I would have been turning 18. And I remember looking at that year and thinking, wow, I'll be so old by then. And just like imagining myself as an adult. When I was 18, I still felt like a kid. Now I'm 29. I feel like I'm just coming into the adult world. I've been sheltered growing up. So in some ways, I'm behind my peers. I was also, I would say, like more naive than the typical person because of being sheltered. So while I'm 29, inside, I still feel like the age of 22 in some ways. I'm in college. I'm still figuring my life out. I'll be turning 30 in less than a month. And it makes me feel old. I know 30 may not seem that old. A lot of you are younger than 30. Some of you may be older than 30. But it just feels like a big milestone to me. I just wanted to make this to talk about what turning 30 is like, just to have it. I watched a YouTuber's video about them turning 30, and they made me feel old because they were talking about how old they were getting, and they were saying things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing that too now. Like becoming interested in the stock market. I had no interest in it until this year. And with my stimulus check, I opened my first Roth IRA, and I've taken an interest in stocks. I'm trying to invest in my future because I'm realizing I've had no plans for the far future. It's strange, but it wasn't until recently that I have this like huge fear that I'm going to end up homeless. Like both now, but also imagine myself as an elderly person, not having saved anything for retirement and having nowhere to live and just being like a homeless old person. And like, that's my fear now. So I'm trying to put something away so I don't end up like that. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I do that too. I'm old. I'm like, I don't relate to like the teens of this world anymore. And I'm just like 30, and I've just been like thinking a lot about my life, where I am right now. I feel like it's common for INFPs to take a while to figure out what they want to do in life. It's common even into adulthood. Like I've seen like INFPs in their 50s being like, I'm still trying to figure life out. So that makes me feel a little bit better, because I do not feel like I have life figured out. I don't have a career. I don't have a relationship. I don't even have like my own place because I can't afford it in the area we live in. So I feel like I'm looking towards the future, hoping I will get all those things, but I don't know. And I feel like 1/3 of my life is gone. And that's kind of depressing to think about that, because I feel like I'm on like the very tip of like young heading towards old. Like I'm getting 1 year closer to death. My metabolism has slowed down. I used to be skinny and not have to worry about what I ate. I didn't exercise. The past 2 years, my metabolism slows down and I'm gaining weight in my stomach area. I'm gonna have wrinkles soon. You know, like beauty doesn't last. Not that I'm saying I'm like, you know, youth doesn't last. And like, I don't want to get old, but like, there's nothing you can do about it. 30 doesn't seem old, but I feel like it's just like the cusp heading towards middle age. And I feel like I wish I had gotten farther at this point in my life. Although I feel like I have come far in some ways, I feel like I'm still like behind, and that I'm still like playing catch up. I feel like I'm like just beginning to be ready to officially join the adult world, being worried about like money, careers, like looking towards the future. I don't feel like I'm where I want to be in life yet. But I don't know if I don't know if a lot of people ever really reach that point where they're like, this is where I want to be in life. I've reached all my goals or something like that. I mean, I hope to be able to reach some of them in the near future, but I will be graduating from college when I'm 30 with a degree that's like not necessarily preparing me for a specific career. I would like to have some kind of non-traditional job, to be honest. Like, I'm not made for the 9-to-5 life. I don't like working. It feels like you're being forced to be somewhere you don't want to be and like spend like the majority of your days just stuck there. I don't like that, but I don't know if like I can find a way to like get a job that works for me. I don't have a specific plan yet, even though I've been thinking a lot about it. So like, I'm hoping to get my first apartment when I'm 30. I'm hoping to get my first cat soon. Probably not when I'm 30. I feel like I've been waiting a large part of my life until I can start actually like living. And I feel like I'm tired of waiting for that moment. I just want to live the way I want to. And I'm hoping when I turn 30, I can take steps to make that happen. 30 does feel like a milestone for me in ways. I mean, it is like, it's an important number. I do feel like I'm running out of time. You know, 1/3 of your life is already spent up. So you've only got 2/3 left. And like 1/3 of that is going to be when you're elderly. So basically I've only got 1/3 left. That sounds like real positive. To like do what I want to do, like fulfill what I want to do, like get to where I want to be in life. And like that doesn't seem like that much time. Like 30 years have already gone by and I'm like not where I want to be. And I've never been one of those people who's had like a clear plan of what they want for their like career or their future. Like I've never really known. Like I remember even when I was like a kid, maybe like 12 or something, and like my neighbor who was my age was asking me like what my plan was for college and like what I was going to do. And I was like trying to avoid the question because like I didn't know how to answer it. And he already had everything planned out of what he was going to do. And like I just never really, I didn't want to think about it because I didn't really want to grow up and have like the responsibility of like not fun stuff, I guess. But even when I'm older, like in my 20s, like I've been searching for what I want to do. I've changed my mind a couple of times. I went into college with a plan and now I no longer want to do that plan. So I'm going to have to find an alternative of how to like survive because now I've become more practical in life of like, yeah, you can't daydream your life away. Like you need to think about like serious stuff like money and bills and retirement or else you're going to end up homeless. I mean, that's not the only thought running through my head. But I mean, basically, like, that can happen. So yeah, like, turning 30 it's not really a happy feeling. Maybe people are happy when they turn 30. That's great. I just feel like it makes me feel old. And, like, I don't really have any big plans for my birthday. Like, normally I just, like, go to a park and, like, get a free dinner from, like, a restaurant because it's my birthday. But yeah, turning 30... to think I've experienced like so much of life yet so little. It's just weird, man. And like I know like I don't look 30. Like I look younger. And maybe now I'll start being glad that my face looks younger to ward off like the wrinkles and stuff. But I mean, like, I feel things, like, are gonna change. Like, I'm gonna have to start, like, watching my health more, like, certain, like, examinations you get in your 30s, like, using certain creams on your face, like, sunscreen. Like, I don't feel 30, though. I feel like I'm both, like, older and younger at the same time. Like, I feel like my soul is more of, like, you know, like I said, like, around 21 or 22. But in other ways, I feel like I've already lived my life several times over. And like, I've just gone all the way to the end and come back again or something like that. Like when I was younger, I thought I would have life figured out by the time I was 18, now struggling at 30. I mean, I guess there's nothing you can do to stop your age. So there's no point in like, I guess, being down about it. It just is what it is. C'est la vie. So congratulations if anyone else is turning 30. So thanks for watching this like depressing video and like don't end up homeless. That's like all you're probably gonna take away from this. I was gonna put my hood up, but I like forgot because I was too busy being existential. Okay.